point, but you're going to need to make sure you get a ticket and put your name in the drawing. We'll do that before the 1:30 clinic tomorrow. Actually, probably before the 11 o'clock clinic tomorrow. Are we good? Okay, I'm not going to do a long intro, but there's information online. If you're here online, go to Band Directors Talk Shop. The very first article has links. We're going to get started because we're running a little bit late. This clinic is going to be on jazz. I'm going to let John Liner introduce himself. Everybody give him a hand.
Hello guys, my name is John. I believe there are handouts in the back are getting passed around now if you don't have one. This is called Swingin' from the Start, building a jazz band from scratch. Before I start, because I've done this clinic a few times, I've done a lot of clinics, and I always have my thank yous at the end, and it always runs into what I think is the most important part, which is gratitude. It turns into like the smallest, least important of my clinic. So I'm gonna start with gratitude. The first one, I promise I'm not gonna get emotional. It didn't really work the last couple times I've done this, but it's okay. So the person on the right, the person on the left. The person on the right was my college mentor, and she encouraged me to start doing clinics when I was in college, and I've gone, at this point, all over the country. I think like 12 different states I've presented in, and she was the one who was like, I was like a freshman in college, she's like, you're going to be a presenter one day. And unfortunately, she passed away about 2 years ago, and she never really got to see me do the thing. And then the person on my left is my dad. And he passed away like a week after she did. And that was like the hardest set of 2 weeks, man. That was really rough. But if he could see what I was doing now, I know he'd be super proud. So huge thank you to them because they're like super inspirational. And then like a long list of mentors, because without these people, there's no way that I'm standing here. So I have to show massive thanks and gratitude to these people. So yeah, we're going to jump into things. I'm going to start with some what I call simple truths about what we're about to see today, because I think there's a lot of myths and we want to just bust them up. Number one, everything here is borrowed. I didn't come up with anything original. Everything comes from somebody. I'm not some genius. I'm a trumpet player. Okay, so simple truth number two, I'm not a jazz musician. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a jazz musician. If I get with other jazz musicians, I'm a fake. Okay, I am not a jazz musician. So I say that you don't need to be a jazz musician to do this here. Simple truth number three, playing jazz will not ruin your concert bands. Ladies and gentlemen, I have heard so many band directors tell me, well, don't they swing in your concert? No, they've never swung in concert. It's concert band. If a child can learn 2 languages, they can learn to play swinging straight. Okay, so they can do it. You just got to make it. Okay, and then simple truth number 4. What we do work for my school. Take what you need and adapt it for what you do. Every school is different. Every situation is different. Kids are different as far as like their learning styles and things. So take what you need and make it work for you. Okay, so I just accepted a new position at Freeman High School, which is my school district's newest high school. We're opening up in the fall. For the past 5 years, I've been working at Morton Ranch Junior High. And Morton Ranch Junior High, tell you a little bit about the school so you can have some context about where we're coming from. We're a Triple C middle school. That's the largest classification in Texas for middle schools. We have 1,200 kids, 400 in band, 25 in the jazz band. We're a Title I campus with 99% of the students on free and reduced lunch. And it's in a suburb of Houston, Texas called Katy. And I'm super proud of this. We are a full-service band program. We offer concert band, jazz band, full orchestra, percussion ensembles, and mariachi band. We do it all. And I'm super stoked because that means that kids can go. This was Fridays for my kids. For some of them. It wasn't all of them. But there are some kids who were like, Friday mornings was full orchestra rehearsal, so they're like playing, so they're playing their UIL program for full orchestra. They go to band class. They're playing the Randall Standards. They're doing their thing there. They go after school. They're playing Duke Ellington all in one day. Like, how cool is that, man? That's pretty amazing. Okay, we're moving on. So how it started. This is a picture of the first jazz band that we had at Morton Ranch Junior High. I think it was like 15 or 16 kids. This was actually the last rehearsal. It was Friday after school, and then COVID hit. We never played again. But this is like the first band. It was a really special group of kids. When we started 5 years ago, we had 300 kids in band, 1,200 in the school, and it was invite only. So I literally like hand invited children to come be in the jazz band. Everybody didn't say yes either. The goal is to find the best musicians, okay, not necessarily the best players. So sometimes kids have really good musical instincts, but they're not quite proficient on their instrument yet. You want to find those kids and get them to the jazz band ASAP. Even if they, like, I have 6th graders who, like, they can play 5 notes on their instrument. They're not ready to play the trumpet in the jazz band. But you know what? They can play the cowbell in jazz band. And we can find use for them there. We'll talk about that in a bit. And nobody had experience, so it wasn't like, you know, we were just blessed with a jazz community. And then we had no bass player at first. So what did I do? I went and I found the most musical kid in the band program who happened to be a 6th grader, 6th grade clarinet player. And I said, Brandon, you're going to be in the jazz band, son. He said, I am. I said, yes, you are. And he said, what am I going to play? He's like, I want to play the clarinet. I said, you're not going to play the clarinet in the jazz band. You're going to play the bass. By the time, and I'm not lying to you, I put my next 6 paychecks on it. By the time he finished playing bass in the 8th grade, this child could have gotten into most music conservatories on the bass. Now, he's a special kid, but when I say it was rough, the first year, I was like, keep playing, buddy, keep playing, Brandon, you got it, man, you got it. And it caught fire with him. And I attribute that 100% to finding a musical kid, not necessarily the best musician. So you gotta find the kid, okay? We didn't have a budget. All we had as far as jazz equipment was a drum set, no amps, no keyboards, no nothing. I believed in accountability at all costs. My best player, he was going to skip rehearsal for a basketball game. I said, if you skip the rehearsal, you're going to get kicked out of jazz band. The whole jazz band's like, and he walked out. I'm like, okay, bye. And guess what? We were just fine. And I think that helps establish the culture of like, we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're also serious about what we do. Again, that's a choice that I made. And then jazz is a style, not an instrumentation. So hear me on this. Jazz is a style, not an instrumentation. Jazz is a style, not an instrumentation, right? So if little Bobby wants to play the oboe in jazz band, let him. If they want to play the euphonium, let it, like, whatever they play, let them play. And as you get to the upper echelons of advanced music and jazz, do you want a more traditional setup? Yeah, probably. But by the time they can play that level of music, usually you've got kids that can double and things like that too. So that's a whole nother conversation. But even now, most of the music publishers are publishing parts to where you can have a French horn in the jazz band. And I would argue that the best thing for a young French horn player is jazz band. We can fight about that later. But it's incredibly beneficial for kids, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So, how is it going? We just finished our 5th year of jazz. In 5 years, including the COVID year, we've had a collective 85 performances. We currently had 25 members. I recruit to fill the needs. Like at the beginning of the school year, I had 1 trumpet in the trumpet section. And we played, like we did a clinic at TMA with him. And by the end of the year, I had 4. You know, it was fine. But I got to recruit every year, even though I think our jazz band's pretty good. You know, we still have to, every year, it's like 1 section that we got to fill out. It's audition-based. Again, a choice that I made. And it's 100% extracurricular. These kiddos meet Fridays after school. It's like an hour and a half until like 5:50. And then, again, choices that I've made. We've started charging a one-time annual fee to help build out a budget for the jazz band. We also have a fundraising concert at the end of the year. We play a couple gigs that actually they wind up paying us. We have a couple of donations that come in. And you'd be surprised how fast the money comes in. Again, I want to take the kids and travel and do festivals, buy music, all that. So it's like, how do I get the money? And the school's not going to give it to me. So this is kind of what we've done. So, then we're on your handout now. So I believe there's 6 tenets or 6 points to jazz. First thing is the fundamentals. Got rhythm section, improv or improvisation. We'll talk about why you gotta swing. I feel like we're on Jeopardy. Train and perform for 300, Alex. And ask for help. No, not you, Alex Trebek. Do you know who that is?
No.
Oh, okay. He was the host for Jeopardy for a long time. Do you know what Jeopardy is?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Okay. All right, cool. And we're going to come back to all these. Say number 1.
Number 1.
That's not going to do it. Say number 1.
Number 1.
Fundamentals. fundamentals.
Fundamentals.
So you got to treat your fundamentals in jazz just like concert band. It's no different. So you'll see the fundamentals packet that we have is the same. It's not the same, but it's extraordinarily similar to what you're going to see in concert band. I'm still listening for tone. I'm still listening for articulation. I'm still looking for hand position. I still look for the foot tap. I look for all these things and listen for all these things. The details are still important, kind of what I was mentioning. And then the secret sauce, I'm hearing a couple slides here. And then the ensemble sounding by way of fundamentals. There is a difference between your concert band and jazz band playing, and I want to reinforce this. Your kids can sound different as an ensemble in the jazz band and did not ruin your concert band sound. You just have to teach them what to do. The biggest thing for me in the concert versus jazz band, personal preferences, I like a lot more trumpet, like it feels like a lot more directional trumpet, kind of in-your-face situation. And then saxophones, I don't change equipment. We play on the same reason mouthpieces. If you're looking for like a universal mouthpiece that can kind of go both ways with jazz and classical, the C stars are fabulous. But have your saxophone players mark in concert band where they put their mouthpiece on the mouthpiece on the cork. Then in jazz band, you want them to take more mouthpiece, and they're going to use a little bit more air, and it'll give them a little bit brighter, brassier sound. And then retune them for jazz band. So now they have 2 marks on their cork, and so that way they can okay, make sure you're set for jazz band. It took me a year to figure out why the saxophones were always out of tune in jazz band. It's really silly, but it's because I didn't have them mark their cork. So have them do that. It'll make a big difference. Okay. All right. So here's into the fundamentals. So long tones. We start every rehearsal this way. The winds and piano, we do a Remington. The bass player plays the Remington in quarter notes. And the drum set player, he's going to swing for 8 beats. And then he's going to do 8 note triplets for 4 beats. I don't have a drum set player in the room, do I? Okay, we'll talk. All right, so cool. So this is what the long tones look like for the wind players. That's what they're going to see on their page. Yeah, that's good. All right, and then your articulation, tongue stops are must. I teach the articulation drill by rote first because we're trying to teach a new skill, which is the tongue stops. And then the drummers are going to swing, and then what? Does anybody have a pair of drumsticks that I can use? Oh man, all right, we're going to do a little bit of this. All right, so this is our articulation drill. It has like all of the articulation markings, and I throw it at them basically the first day of jazz. And like I said, I teach it by rote. So we're gonna, I'll do like the first 4 for you, and then we're gonna do it together. Okay? Here we go. This is the first 4. Da 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 do do da do do. Okay? You got the idea? Yes, no? Hello? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. You try. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, and
Da da.
Nope, stop. That wasn't half the energy I had. Match me. 1, 2, your turn.
Da da.
Nope, stop. Stop it with your tongue. Again. 1, 2, ready, go.
Da 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 da.
Good, stop. And so from there I go on. Don't stop the note with your teeth. Stop it with your tongue, so on and so forth. But I literally have the kids say everything, and then I have them play everything on concert F. But I won't have them play it until they can make it sound correct saying it. To me, that's like super, super, super important. I'm going to backtrack. You got the sticks ready, brother? Can you bring them up here for me? So, on the long tone, I'm going to go back to the long tones real quick. On the long tones, I appreciate you. On the long tones, I say that I want the drummers to swing and then do 8 note triplets for 4. So, what I mean, this will work for now. So we got 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, triplet, 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 right, so on and so forth. And I'll break it down a little bit more we have a section at the end for the secret sauce that'll make it make more sense. But that's what the drummer's doing. Hot take, I do not believe in young drummers doing. most of the kids don't have the feel to make that sound like jazz. It sounds like a march, and that's not what we're playing. All right, so that's articulation. And then the secret sauce. I know you've been dying to know what the secret sauce is. Okay, the secret sauce is the blues. Now, what you talking about, John? I teach the kids the blues. It's 12-bar blues. I start in the key of B flat, and the first 2 years we couldn't get out of the key of B flat, and that's okay. And then after that we added the keys of F and G. Again, this is for middle school. And then why it's the secret sauce is because I can work on rhythm section, I can work on horn playing, I can work on improvisation, I can work on teaching songs, all with the same 12 measures. So it is like a lot of folks would say maybe you want to use 2 5s or something else to start with. If you start with the blues, I can teach the kids 10 different tunes with the same 12 measures from the rhythm section, which means I can focus on technique with the rhythm section, how to play the instrument, right? All right, so about the blues. With the rhythm section, the bass player is going to have a pre-written bass line, the drummer is going to have a basic swing pattern, and the piano player is going to have pre-written rootless voices. What does that mean? I'll talk about it in just a moment. So, while the blues is going on, I have the wind players arpeggiate the chords. I have the wind players arpeggiate the chords. I don't tell them what they're doing. I just say, hey, we're going to play these notes. And this is actually their audition to get in the jazz band. Because if I have a 6th grader who can play this, and like 98% of that is right, I'll take that. Like, that dog will hunt. I can teach you to play. And so, we take this, we teach them this. What they don't realize is that they're getting the sound of the blues in their head. Okay? So then when they go to improvise over the blues, they don't even know it, but now they have the notes and the sound in their head. Well, dang it, your improvisation's probably going to be pretty okay. And they don't even, they really have no idea what they're doing. Okay, so that's what the wind players do during their blues. Hold on. Okay, cool. Rhythm section. Everybody say rhythm section.
Rhythm section.
I'm going to tie it all together, I promise. So, the rhythm section, I believe, is like the biggest freak out situation in jazz band, and the reason why a lot of people don't do jazz band. So this is a picture of this last year's rhythm section. These are my boys. There's 5 of them. I've had rhythm sections as big as 9 and as small as 2, and we've made it work. The kids they're fabulous. I want to give you a snapshot of the children that I have in my rhythm section. It's not like some special thing. It's like when I started, our orchestra program didn't have any bass players, so we had to figure out where bass players were coming from. We didn't have a piano player. Nobody in the school played, or nobody that I found played drums. It was just like, oh, how do we make a jazz band out of this? So I just want to show you who we have. Okay, so this is Thaddeus. Thaddeus is he's going to be a 9th grader now. He plays drum set, piano, bass, auxiliary percussion. I will say Thaddeus is truly gifted. He might be the most naturally raw, talented student that I've ever met. He's a pretty incredible kid. He plays football, basketball. He's in the FCA, and he's a 3rd-year member in non-varsity band. I believe in accountability at all costs. So even though he's like arguably the most talented musician I've ever met, he sits in our 2nd band on tuba. Okay. So that is Thomas, also going to high school. He plays drum set, piano, plays vibes, keys, key bass, and auxiliary percussion. He's in student council. He has taekwondo. He plays piano outside of school, and then he is a percussionist in the band program. Micah, he's a 7th grader, going to be an 8th grader now. He plays drum set and percussion for us. He plays football, baseball in student council. And Micah is a bari sax player for us in our top band. He picked up drum set this year. And then Jan plays piano. He's in orchestra. He's a violist. And what I love about Jan could not play the piano. Lord have mercy. He's like, Mr. Lonnie, can I? I said, son. So I handed him a paper. I said, go learn this. If you can learn this, then we'll talk. He comes back and it's perfect. I said, what did you do? And so what I'll share more later, but with students like this who are like, I want to be in the rhythm section, but send them off on a mission to go figure out how to do something, like give them instructions, right? And if they can come back and do it, that's a kid that you probably want in your rhythm section because they're individual enough. You don't need to be worried about your rhythm section, right? So you have too many other things that are on your plate. And then we have Matthias. Matthias is a 6th grader, drum set, auxiliary percussion, vibes. He's in martial arts and he does soccer outside of band. And he's a beginning percussionist. He's one of those kids that were like, man, this is a really good musician, or excuse me, a really musical kid who will eventually become a really good musician. So that's where I have, they're normal kids that do things outside of band. They're interested in other things outside of music. But they formulate, and I will say this to the masses, I believe they're the greatest middle school rhythm section in the United States of America. I really do. Okay, so rhythm section. Here's your instruments: drums, bass, guitar, piano, vibes, auxiliary percussion, cowbell, whirro, wind chimes, things like this. So how do I find these kids? We start literally when they come and do their 5th grade interview for instruments. And we have a slot for like, what other instruments do you play? Are you interested in other things? And so we start right there getting a pulse on where the kids are at. I'm also in the hallways. Like every kid in my school, or just about every kid in the school, knows who I am. I'm in the hallways asking, hey man, you know somebody who plays guitar? You know, and eventually you turn up some kids that you sometimes would have never guessed. And then I used to require private lessons for all of my students that were in the rhythm section. And at first it was a really, really good thing. But then the further we went, the more practical I saw that it was, based on kind of the environment that we were in. And so I stopped requiring private lessons as long as they could keep up with the work that we were doing in jazz band. And we didn't really see a drop off in terms of how the rhythm section performed. So that's just something to consider. If it's available to you, I would highly recommend your rhythm section getting private lessons. Some people have come to me like, well, John, what if they're in rhythm section private lessons, but they're not in private lessons for their main instrument? Well, like main instrument, flute, clarinet, trumpet. I was like, isn't our job to get these kids to love music? Isn't that the main job? So if our job is to get them to fall in love with music, does it matter what instrument it's on? I know it's slightly controversial. I don't think it is. I think, if our job is to do that, then if the kid falls in love with the electric bass, well, dang it, let them love the electric bass. It's cool. The kids you're looking for in the rhythm section, they're motivated, they're musical, they're curious, they're creative, they like to explore, they're independent, they can solve problems or want to solve problems. A lot of rhythm section playing are these things. So if a kid comes up to you and they're excited, see if they check these boxes, because if they do, they're probably a good candidate for your rhythm section. And I said this, we start with beginner instrument fittings, word of mouth, get your kids, get in your band class. Hey, if you know somebody that plays the drum set, send them to the band hall. And then, like I said, get in the hallway. You will find the kids. They are at your school, I promise. They've been at every school that I've started a jazz band, worked with. They're always there. Sometimes you gotta work for them. Talked about that. Find the most musical students you band and private lessons. Okay, cool. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. And I'm super excited about this because somebody's going to learn how to play jazz drum set and types of rhythm section players. Here's how we teach the 12-bar blues to the kids. So we start with the drum set. I need a volunteer. You cannot have played drum set seriously before, but I just need one volunteer. Oh, come on, let's go. Give a hand, guys. Give a hand. Thank you. I appreciate you. We need a chair, and I think it'll be square. All right, so we're going to get them set up over here, and I'm doing this to show you that, yes, you can teach the rhythm section to start out, okay? All right, so here your sticks, one in each hand. All right. These chairs are not stable. I was like, let's do 2 chairs, but that's going to work for right now. All right, so... and take your foot off the hi-hat for right now. All right. Excellent. So, the very first thing we're going to see, and this is how I also see if a kid is a good fit for drum set. So, you're going to be fine. So, the very first thing we're going to do is with the right hand on the right cymbal, we're going to do quarter notes, and that's the notation. So here we go. 1, 2, quarter notes. Yeah, A triple plus. That's exactly what we want. The next step is the kick drum. We're skipping the kick drum one because it's hard too because we don't have one. If a kid can't do the kick drum the first time, it's okay. All right, the next step would be the snare drum on 2 and 4. Okay, so take your left hand. Oh, you already know how to hold it. Look at you. Come on, here we go. 1, 2, just your left hand. 1, 2, 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. You're a professional. All right, and then your left foot is on the hi-hat. Now, most of you won't be able to see this, but the hi-hat, actually, I'm going to hold this up. The hi-hat is kind of angled like this, okay? You want their toe to be down at all times. You don't want anything to lift up off of the hi-hat pedal, okay? Because they're going to want to, no, keep it all the way attached, okay? So, here we go. So keep your toe attached. And you're just going to lift and press real crisply on 2 and 4. Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Man. Dang, you're good. Can you come in my jazz band? Dang. All right. So now we're gonna put this together. So we're gonna do let's do quarter notes in the right hand, and I'm just gonna ask you to add different elements to it. Okay? Here, right hand quarter notes. 1, 2, ready, go. Left hand 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's it. That's your left foot. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Give him a hand clap. Y'all, that's a swing. That is a swing pattern, and that is absolutely what I get out of kids that are made for drum set in the first day, and we maintain this probably, I don't know, for a few weeks, and then we progress it. But that's swinging, man. That's absolutely happening. So thank you again, man. I appreciate you. Now you're ready. You're ready, man. The kids at Clovis are coming. I love it. All right, so I think that's pretty straight up, but you can do that right away. The piano, the Charleston rhythm. This is pretty cool. So, with the Charleston rhythm is a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note. Can we clap that rhythm, please? Can we clap it, class? 1, 2, clap it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now, I think some of y'all picked this up. If you think back to our articulation, the articulation drill was just permutations of this. So all we're doing is having to play what the piano rhythm is. So we take this Charleston rhythm, which is the kind of a foundational piece of blues, jazz. I'll talk about that. And then we put some notes to it. Okay? Now, most piano players that you find are already going to be able to read music at some level. So have them learn this. Again, same rhythm, you just worry about notes. Have them learn this, have them memorize it. And then later, a few months, maybe a year or two down the road, then you can tell them the theory and stuff behind it. But just get them playing. I think that's really, really important. Earlier I talked about rootless voicings. These are rootless voicings. And all that means is, all the rootless voicings mean is that you don't see the tonic or the one of each chord listed. The bass player's going to have it. And what it creates is a much more full, much more rich sound in the piano. It's a really professional type sounding deal. So you can have a very mature rhythm section flavor from the beginning if you'll just have them learn this. You can teach them more voicings later, but we'll start with that. Oh, I'm sorry. And I have all this. I can send all this to you. I have finale files of this. I have all that. So, and I can give you the slideshow. All right, I'm going on. And then the last thing, in the bass, we have quarter note roots. So they're the bass player. You can have them start on quarter note roots, so just the same note every measure, basically, just changing for the chord. And then once they change or they're advanced, you can give them a written out bass line like you see on the page. And again, it's okay to give your kids pre-written out stuff, especially as they're learning. Imitation, like just imitating the great sound, like is really what you want. Okay? All right, so all together, we have the blues. I kind of flipped the order. We did the drum set now, so it says your turn, but we already did that. So we're going to... Okay. Now, one of the things I do, and I hate this because I have to set up for the TDA presentation, because you can actually see the two drum set players, but I carry two drum set players at the same time in my jazz band. So they're both playing at the same exact time. And if you watch us play, you listen to us play, you would never know that I had two drum set players. So what I love about it is, y'all remember that 6th grade drummer that I told you about? He sits on basically a setup like this. He sits on something just like that. And he plays, and then I have an older kid, usually on the 2nd drum set, that's a full drum kit. And the kid up here, he's not really allowed to play anything else besides time, in performances at least. In rehearsals we do a little more. But it gives him a full year of playing with a security blanket of the older kid, and he can now listen back for style. And in rehearsal, they actually face each other. So I have the big drum set, the little drum, and they're both facing each other. So he can watch him, and he can watch him, and he can correct him, and he can learn from him all at the same time. In performance, I just flip them around, so they're facing the audience. I'm sorry, I'm making you earn your paycheck, brother. I'm sorry. So, but the two drum set thing has been absolutely wonderful. So then, that 6th grader, he's developed for you. The next year, he's ready to take a seat at the big seat. And then I have another 6th grader that comes in. And then in the middle school, where you only have 3 years to get a kid going, you've already got a little continuity going. You've got them developing already. So that gives you a little bit more security. Whereas with the saxophone player, you're not worried because you've got 700 kids signed up for saxophone. It's like, well, a couple will probably join the jazz band, right? All right, say number 3.
Number 3.
Say number 3.
Number 3.
Improv.
Improv.
Oh, we're gonna work with y'all. So I'm not gonna go real deep into it, but all of the improv that we do, we use the blues, the 12 measures that we kind of went over. We use that almost exclusively to introduce improvisation to the students. We do call and response, and then we do call and copy. Call and response is, call and copy is literally you do exactly what I do. So if I say do 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 do, you go do 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 do. Great. Now, call and response would be that you do something different that's in response to what I'm doing, right? So, for example, and this is exactly how I teach this. So, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Okay, so he's doing call and copy. Now I want you to do call and response. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's good, man. What you doing this week?
I can't.
See, so he has something different to say, right? So that's how I introduce it to the kids. And so then I'll get my instrument out, and it'll be like, do, 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 do,
Do, do, do,
do, do, do, do.
do, do, do.
See, and so he has something different to say. And it's a short little bit of time to do this. Now, how it really fleshes out, because, you know, you got kids that are like, I don't want to play in front of everybody. Here's what you do. You do it as a whole big group. So you get all 7 million children that are signed up for jazz band. You do call and copy, you, then everybody. Call and response, you, then everybody. Then break it down. Then do it by section. You, then the section, you, the section. Then do volunteers for individuals until you can get the full band kind of like ready to go. And that's a way to kind of break them in. It's like, oh, wow, this isn't so scary. And then before long, you won't be able to stop them from soloing. It's kind of crazy. Also for improv, we do kind of one note at a time. So it's like, okay, you're going to solo for, 2 measures. You can only use the note B flat. Same thing. We do it as a big group. Then I have only the trumpets do it. Then I have just, volunteers for that. And then this last one is really important to me. So always appreciate each other. When people improvise, they are coming up with something from themselves and they're sharing it with everybody else. They're sharing it and they're choosing to share it when they really don't have to. So when people share a piece of them, you don't know where that's coming from. It could be coming out of a place of emotion. It could be coming out of a place of they're scared, they're happy, they're sad, they're angry. It could be coming from a lot of places. And for them to share that with us is a really, really big deal. So when I say always appreciate each other, anytime anybody improvises, we always clap for that person. We always, always, always clap for that person. And it's so serious to the fact that if we don't clap and appreciate the fact that somebody wanted to share with us, I'll stop the rehearsal and we'll go back. Because if we're not willing to appreciate them, then why would they share it? Like, it's like talking to a brick wall. So I think that's really, really important. Like, kids always need to appreciate each other. Because quite honestly, improv is that person's opinion. So it can't be good, it can't be bad. It's just theirs. It's theirs. So if you think it's bad, well, too bad for you. It's not your opinion. Like, it's not yours. It's their improv. So we always have to appreciate it, no matter what it sounds like or what it is. Like, you just gotta appreciate it. Okay? All right, here we go. We're gonna try this again. Say number 4. Hey, you gotta swing.
You gotta swing.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I know we were clipping, Alex. That's okay. So I talked about the secret sauce earlier with the blues. Now it's like, what do we do with it? Okay, we talked about the warm, we talked about the improvisation. Now we talk about songs that we can learn. So these are what we call riff-based blues tunes, which is essentially it repeats like 2 or 3 measures over and over and over again for 12 measures, and it comes up with a song. More or less, that's what riff-based blues tunes are. Okay, so this song has 2 notes, and like I said, most of these repeat. So you could really teach like 2 to 4 measures of a song, and they know all 12 measures of it. So when you teach the rhythm section, the blues, as we did in the warm-up, now you're like, okay, man, pull up this piece, pull up this, pull up whatever piece, and now you're just worried about the wings. The rhythm section's already taken care of because they can play the blues already. Okay? Then you can talk about more in depth about what they're supposed to do. Other great blues starters. These aren't necessarily riff-based, but they're great tunes to have in the back pocket for the kids. And yes, beginner jazz bands can absolutely play these. Maybe not Equinox, but everything else is very much doable. Alright. I'm sorry, I gotta switch the screen here. Alright, and then here's some jazz standards. So with my kids, I really like, when I say you have to swing, you have to play swing with your students. We started with swing and the kids fell in love with it. A lot of people tell me, John, the kids don't like swing. Well, of course they don't. They've never played swing in their life. So you have to introduce it to them. And if you show an ounce of passion about it, the kids will love it. My kids will argue for us to play So What or for us to play Satin Doll before we play whatever cheesy rock arrangement that there is, right? They kill to play standards or swing tunes so quickly, much more so over some of the modern stuff that's been coming out. And that's not to say modern stuff isn't good, but if we're going to do jazz, let's do jazz. And mix in the rock tunes every now and again. It's like a dessert. You can't have it all the time. I mean, you can, but oh my goodness. Y'all, okay, have y'all heard of the Peach Cobbler Factory? Mm-hmm. Okay, they opened up this new joint, and they literally sell all flavors of peach cobbler. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. It changed my life. Okay, we're going to move on. All right, here are tunes and arrangements that I recommend for beginner jazz bands. You'll see at the bottom it says Jalen Jazz. This publisher's fabulous because most all of their music has music for all instrumentations. So flute, clarinet, French horn, whatever you name, bass clarinet, you name it, they got it. And then the Essential Elements for Jazz Ensemble is also the same. It's a great book series. They have a great package for all instruments as well. well. Okay, now, I talked to you about like these riff-based blues tunes, right? And so everybody plays the same line. It's all in unison. So the question that you asked, and I'm glad you asked it, why should we play these heads, or why should we play these? Okay, well, one, it makes every player better because you're playing a lot more notes individually, okay? Combos are pre-made, so you learned tenor madness. Great, well, take your rhythm section and your trumpet player and go send them down the hall to play for the principal. There's your jazz combo. It's pre-done for you. It's a vehicle for improvisation. We talked about that. And then grandma can enjoy it. Now, who is grandma? What in the world, John? Now, when Lil Bobby or Lil Jose goes home to grandma or abuela, right, Granny's going to ask him to play. Now, unfortunately, little Bob plays fourth trumpet. And I don't know if you've heard a fourth trumpet part anytime lately. It's not very exciting. And so instead of him taking his fourth trumpet part out, and she'd be like, what? And have to, no, instead of that, what can he do? He can pull out his head. He can pull out C-Jam Blues. He can pull out Tenor Madness. He can pull out one of these tunes, and Grandma can enjoy it because he's playing melodies. He's not playing harmonies and parts that are, not the first parts. So they're great for that. Okay? All right, here we go. Number 5.
Number 5.
Train and perform.
Train and perform.
So you got to rehearse. You got to find time to rehearse. No, you may not be able to have it during the school day. So, like for us, Fridays after school was when we could fit it around sports and everything else. You might have 30 minutes before school on a Wednesday. Or maybe you have like a study hall or an advisory period for the kids. Maybe it's Friday after. You have to find that time that works for you and for your campus. When I student taught in Massachusetts, it was really unique. The school district had it to where it was a class that they signed up for, and they met Tuesdays after school for an hour and a half, and Thursdays from like 6 to 8 p.m. And that's how they made it work. But you have to figure out what works for you and for your program. But it can be done. It really can. And then what I really believe in is master classes and experiences for the kids. So for the master classes, what I did is, again, what worked for us, Saturday mornings, once a month in the fall semester, we did a master class for the kids. And I brought professional jazz musicians in to work with the kids. So they did sectionals for an hour and a half. And then we came and played as a full band. And it worked. And then for experiences, it's just finding places to take the kids to listen to music, to play music, to go places. And that really ignites them and sets them on fire. Okay? Now it says perform on here. And we're going to talk about performances. If you are going to have a jazz band, if you want to see the kids, A, have fun, and B, rapidly increase, they must perform. Even when you think they're not ready. So most of us, I say most of us, a lot of band directors that I run into for the jazz stuff, they will go and they will do jazz band and they have their UIL ears on. And it's like, oh, well, it doesn't sound very good. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if you realize high school marching bands play the same show for 10 weeks, for 12 weeks, and nobody complains about that at the football games. That's not a diss, it just is what it is. Right? But it gets better and better and better and better, and the end product is pretty stinking amazing. So it's the same concept here. So when my kids have 2 songs, we're ready to play gigs. And it's like, you can play, listen y'all, now I'm not recommending this, but like we've done it to where we've had an hour and a half and we've played 2 songs for an hour and a half. And were the kids happy? Yep. Did they complain? No. And neither did the people that were listening. So I was, it worked. So you got to have them perform. So you must perform. Being ready does not mean what you think it is. Once they can get through the piece, the improv section is kind of worked out. You're probably, I'm assuming good tone qualities are happening. You're probably ready for a performance. Okay? And once you start performing, the gigs will come in from places that you didn't even know existed. Once you start performing and people know your group's available, it'll just happen. And then the fastest way to improve is to perform. So that's how we got to 85 gigs in 5 years. I didn't go seeking gigs like crazy. It's just kind of happened. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples of what performances could look like. You can have them perform at the band concert, at percussion ensemble concerts, pairing with percussion. So an ensemble in Texas, they can go as a medium ensemble if they're the right size. You can have a jazz band concert, festivals at these colleges, playing gigs in the community. We play like cancer benefits and stuff like that. Have them play at lunch. It's great, Black History Month. You can have them play there because jazz is very much a black music. It's an American music. Have them play there. School orientations as kids, especially in the middle school. You don't have a marching band in the middle school. Shout out to Monahans. But you can, as the kids are coming in for orientation, for sixth grade orientation, have the jazz band swinging. Then you got school board meetings, create your performance. Like, you have options. You really do. And then why jazz? So this is like, I do jazz because it's fun, because we can. Like, the kids have a great time, so we do it. But for if you need to be convinced, or you need somebody to be convinced, like your administrator, the jazz band becomes instant ambassadors for the campus. The concert band improves because your kids can now play multiple styles in jazz band. When they get to concert band, playing the different articulations ain't a big deal because they've done that and more. And then FaceTime is up. My kids play Friday after school for an hour and a half. I calculated it. Once we go through a full school year, they've done an additional semester of organized rehearsal FaceTime than anybody else, just by going to jazz rehearsal. So that's literally, like, talk about gaining FaceTime, maturity, all these things that happens right there in the jazz band. Recruiting is up. So when I took over as the head band director 3 years ago, we had 187 kids in band. We took the jazz band around, did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we went to 400 kids in 2 years. And people are like, what you? All I can say is the jazz band. That's the only thing different that we did. And then a lot of kids like get it in jazz band. Like, their instrument starts to make sense for them in jazz. And then safe doubling opportunities, we can call it. You know, controversial if we like. But I believe that once a kid is solid on one instrument and they want to, they can start doubling in middle school. There's a lot of things you got to watch embouchure and make sure they continue their primary instrument. But jazz band is a great place for them to learn a second instrument. Okay. Non-traditional instruments get to shine. We put a lot of kids in the second band and third band. We'll have them in jazz band, and they'll audition. They'll get in there, and guess what? By the time they finish, they are ready to be a leader of the top band because they've already played some really complex stuff. And then jazz is just fun. It's a really good thing. And so number 6 is ask for help. I'm not going to have us spell it out because I'm kind of on the downslope here, but it's ask for help. And so I told you I'm not a jazz musician. I grew up as a gospel, like playing music in the African American church, and that's what I did. And so when I get to jazz, I'm like, I don't know, what am I doing? How do I get? And so I literally found anybody and everybody who had a clue about jazz in my area, and I asked them for help. So here's some pictures of some pictures of the people that have come in and worked with my kids and shown me. The guy in the middle is like the architect. Like, I was the band director, but he was like actually the one guiding me and showing me what I need to do to make it work. So you're like, well, I don't know who to ask. Here's your people. So local jazz music teachers, local jazz musicians, in-person, virtual clinics, Zoom is great. Record. Yes, you can record your band and send it to somebody that you respect for feedback. These are all ways you can ask for help. Okay? So these are some recommendations I have for books that have helped me. I've read all of these books, and they definitely helped me out. They're all fabulous, serve different purposes. And my last recommendations, this group I've been working with the last 2 or 3 years called Playbook. They're literally on the forefront of jazz music education right now. They have charts for you to play. They provide instruction, clinics. They have an online app for kids to use at www.thisisplaybook.com. And the people that run it are amazing. Like, we've had them out to our school. I actually won a grant for them to come to our school one time for a week. It was outstanding. Okay. So if you have questions, there's my email. But do you have any questions? We got a little bit of time, so if you have any questions at all, I can take anything online. You can take those questions. Yes. Yes. Oh, sorry. I think you had it. Okay.
There had been a question about one of the composers, but I think they found it on the slides. I think that was from a long time back. So, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And then I'm going to do, y'all, you guys can start packing up that are here. I'm going to do my little thing at the end. So those of you that are online, I shared the link, but if you want a full schedule and the professional development tracker where you can track your stuff, it's at the very top of that article on Band Directors Talk Shop, the first article, very top, it says access the schedule and PD tracker here. And then you should have the handout and slides. We have another clinic at 4:30 today. It's going to be from a different room. We do our best to get set up and start right on time at 4:30, but we have a rehearsal that goes till 4:20. So right around 4:30, we'll be starting with that. I think that's it. Everybody else, y'all good to go? You can go observe. You can stop the live feed. You can go observe Director's Band. You can take a break if you need to. But